In Christian mythology, the Antichrist will appear just before the end of times. He's the son of the devil, a truly evil human that is the exact opposite to Jesus Christ. The Antichrist would act as a false prophet who will announce himself as Christ and perform great wonders to captivate the people of the world. Those who can't see through the guise of this trickster will be sent to damnation when Christ comes to usurp him and take his place as Lord of the world. In the book of Revelation, the last chapter of the Christian Bible, there is a passage which says, "No one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or name of the beast, or the number of his name. And his number is 666. Who is the beast? What does the beast sell? And what is 666? Rome was an agent of evil, a destroyer of worlds, and in direct opposition with the Judean God. The emperor in power at the time Jerusalem was destroyed was Nero, who reigned between 37 and 68 AD. He was considered the worst of the worst, and the Judeans absolutely hated him. After he died in the year 68, his body was supposedly never found. Legend began to spread amongst the people that he would later return as the Antichrist. Azzo of Montier-en-Der was the male leader of the Benedictine monastery in France. He died in the year 999 AD while on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. He's not very well known these days, but he was kind of a big deal 1,000 years ago. He was a leading scholar in the world of Christianity and wrote 5 important works during his life. His most famous is a biography of the Antichrist. Azzo claimed that when the last world emperor united all the Christians and the Muslims were defeated once and for all, the Antichrist would be born. Nostradamus was a famous French philosopher, mathematician, astrologer, and seer of the future. He may have died in 1566 AD, but his predictions are still going strong. One of the biggest issues with the prophecies of Nostradamus is that none of them are very specific. His predictions are kind of like astrological fortunes in the backs of newspapers. That being said, there is one event that Nostradamus predicted with extreme clarity. He calls it the final conflagration, and he says it will happen in about 1,770 years. Nostradamus wrote that the earth will tremble, fire will come from the heavens, and the world will be destroyed. He also claimed that 3 antichrists would come in the modern age to bring great death and destruction. The first of these sons of perdition was Napoleon Bonaparte, the ruthless French ruler who cast war across the world, followed by Adolf Hitler, the dastard behind the atrocities of World War II. However, the third Antichrist has yet to reveal themselves. Martin Luther attended college in the 16th century and then went on to law school, but found himself so fascinated with the Word of God that he became a monk. Martin Luther was responsible for beginning the Protestant Reformation on October 31st, 1517 AD. Essentially, if you didn't give enough money to the church, they wouldn't let your soul into heaven, and you would be to hell. Martin Luther knew this was wrong, and so he started the Protestant movement. This distrust of the church and the knowledge that the Roman Catholic leaders were a corrupt body of politicians and thieves would lead to great struggles in Europe. In the days of Martin Luther, before he died in 1546 AD, rumor had spread that Pope Leo X was the spawn of Satan himself. Pope John Paul II in the 1970s and Pope Benedict XVI in 2005 were both popular contestants for the role of Antichrist. Just about every pope has been rumored at least once to be the person who will usher in the end of time. Grigory Efimovich Rasputin, commonly known as just Rasputin, was born a peasant in the year 1869. He became a friend of Nicholas II, who was the last emperor of Russia, and as a result he gained an impossible amount of influence. Rasputin was never really popular with anyone. He wiggled himself into high society, began acting as a healer for the emperor and empress in 1906, and was viewed by everyone outside the immediate royal family as a mystic and a no-good liar. He was a charlatan, and when Nicholas II left Russia in 1915 to fight in World War I, Rasputin was left alone with Empress Alexandra. His influence soared, and he became such a dark and bizarre figure that he was assassinated in 1916. In Jewish mythology, Armilus is the anti-Messiah. He is described as the one who will conquer the earth, destroy Jerusalem, and eventually be defeated by the Jewish Messiah. His story can be found in the Sefer Zerubbabel, also known as the Apocalypse of Zerubbabel. However, just like the story of Jesus and Satan, he's destroyed in the final battle between good and evil. The Islamic faith has their very own Antichrist as well, and his name is Al-Dajjal. He's also known as the Deceiver, and he's a false messiah who comes just before the end of days. The Islamic faith believes that he will rise up for approximately 40 days or 40 years. They never could decide on which one it was. He's then going to be destroyed by Christ, or the rightly guided one, as they call him, and the world will then bend to God's will. Unlike many other religions, the Prophet Muhammad gives us a really clear vision of what the Islamic Antichrist looks like. He's apparently described as a plump man with one eye, an ugly face, curly hair, and the Arabic word for unbelief stamped on his forehead. In the Old Testament, there are 4 verses in the letters of 1 and 2 John, which discuss the true identity of the Antichrist. These are some of the oldest and most authentic Christian descriptions there are. What's really interesting is that in the verses of the New Testament, the Antichrist is nowhere described as being a single person. Instead, the spawn of Satan is a group of false teachers who will deny the teachings of Christ. Even more frightening, in 2 John chapter 1 verse 7 it says, "Many deceivers who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh have gone out into the world. Any such person is the deceiver and the Antichrist." What this means is that anyone who doesn't accept Jesus is themselves one of the sons of perdition.